I like that analogy you used about waking up halfway through a movie and not understanding where you're at. So when clients come into your office like that, how do you sort that out? Because it can seem very overwhelming. I've been doing this for quite a while now, and I still get overwhelmed with aspects of it. And so how do you sit down with them and start the process of them sorting out all the different components of their financial life?
Well, thank you. That's a great question. We typically would sit down over the phone or over Zoom, kind of like we're doing right now, and just have a conversation. The conversation usually starts with them telling me their story and me listening and taking lots of notes. On average, it's somewhere between 10 and 15 pages per client. And we just listen carefully first. I believe in that. I think as a fiduciary and as a certified financial planner, that's my obligation to listen first. Kind of like a doctor, first do no harm, right? So the first thing we do is listen. And the story they tell me sounds something like this. Mark, hey, I just started collecting all these little rocks in my financial life. I got the credit cards in college. I got the student loan debt in college. Then I got out of college and I got my first 401k. And they're essentially saying, hey, I'm grabbing all these financial accounts without really thinking about it. And I'm just throwing it in my backpack as I carry on my journey and throughout life. So I get the 401k because that's the adult thing to do. And then I get the Roth IRA because someone told me to. And then the cool kids were telling me to get into crypto. So I got some crypto and on and on and on and on. And before long, we're just weighed down by this random portfolio of what? I don't know, a big old bag of rocks. Okay. So we typically invite them to temporarily at least set it all down. And let's just talk about functionality. Let's talk about characteristics. Adjectives and verbs are really valuable at this stage in the game for a lot of folks. What do you want your money to do for you? Pregnant pause. Then we let them answer that question. And many times it's hard for them to even know what the answer might be. So I give them a few prompts. And maybe we could have a little fun experiment right now, Kirby. We could just do this thing.
Yeah.
And
Hey.
feel free to chime in. So I'll get us started. You feel free to throw in things if folks want to. I don't know if the comment section's turned on, but anyway, folks, as you're listening to this, add your own spice and flavor to this. Okay, so
yeah, if you're watching this live on Facebook, you can feel free to drop comments in and yeah, go ahead.
Cool. All right, yeah, and if you're not watching it live, take a moment, jot it down on a legal pad too if you want to. It's free, totally free to do this experiment. What do you want your money doing for you? Where you put your money makes it do different things. Real simple, nothing, genius about that. A 401k is different than a savings account in the way of its characteristics. Let's talk about it. Let's get the nouns out of the conversation. Let's just talk about characteristics. So when I was looking for my own perfect financial portfolio, I wanted money to grow every single year competitively and beat inflation at least every single year. That was an important characteristic. So I made that at the top of my list. Second, I wanted access to the money. So liquid access to cash without a bunch of penalties or red tape or having to wait a long time to get the money, like decades without penalties, right? So I wrote down liquidity and then access to cash. Why don't I stop for a minute? Any other like front burner issues you want to make sure you put on that list?
I mean, for me, it's been since 2016 when I got into rental properties. It's been, I wanted to pay me above what my living costs are on a monthly basis. So
that's great.
So yeah, that's been the main priority.
Passive income that exceeds your operating expenses. I love it. That's great, man. Great. How about private? So like if you ever, in the real estate space, it's not a matter of if, but when we're going to be sued. Hate to say it that bluntly, but that's just the reality of things. There's too many banana peels on these apartment sidewalks, I'm telling you. So privacy and protection against lawsuits. That's a big one. Some assets are not protected. Some are. How
Legacy,
about,
I think is one as well.
Say more about that.
Just the 3 kids. I've got 3 young kids. And so we've set up 529s for them. And we've, we think through the lens of what the legacy assets look like, and
that's great.
what will it look like when we pass these on to the next generation.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That's proof that you're thinking long range. And let's see, Gloria Steinem said it best. She said, the rich plan for 4 generations, but the poor plan for Saturday night. So I'm really glad you're thinking long range like that, man. That's awesome. That's so good.
I got to extend out 3 more generations now. But
well, you're thinking in the right direction. I think many people, honestly, yeah, it's how when do I get paid again so I can go out and blow it? That's unfortunate that that's the case. But these are great. I mean, we could keep going. How about I won't go on forever, but throw one more out there: tax free. Let's make it tax free, especially when we want it out of our taxable income, and hopefully we get some tax advantages today, but we want it tax free forever too, not just this year, but every year. And so on and on we could go, right? The list could be 10 pages long, but that's a good start. And that's where so to answer your question in a roundabout sort of way, we listen carefully to what they want their money doing for them. And then we take that little bag of rocks and we try to consolidate into financial products and vehicles that mimic or illustrate what they're trying to accomplish. So many people have their money working against them. I'll tell you a quick story. A doctor making a great income, and he was so proud of his high income, which is great for him, hard worker. But he also was proud of his 401k that was getting, 12% the last 2 or 3 years in the markets. It's been great the last few years up until this year. So he was really proud of that 12% in his 401k. He also, however, as we got into his situation, he was spending 80 grand a year on interest payments on all of his debt. That's about a third of his income. So 33% of his after-tax income was going to service, not pay off, to service all of his debt. He had a couple of houses, boat, a couple of cars, credit card debt, student loans from years ago with the medical loans, medical student loans. So he was spending 30+% of his income to service debt, but he was proud of his 12% in his mutual funds, pre-tax 12%. So again, after tax, that might be closer to 7 or 8% after tax, right? Because a 401k is taxed when you take the money out. So part of the holistic that you brought up earlier is to think about your life as one wallet. What one thing does, the rest of it is impacted by. If you have a 33% debt problem and you're proud of your 12% mutual funds, you're actually moving backwards. Your returns are negative as one wallet. Okay, I'll hush there. What feedback, thoughts, comments about that experience of kind of thinking about functionality of money or anything else?
No, I think, I mean, it makes so much sense to me. I mentioned before we got on this call that I've got this program that I work with people to help them get vacation rentals, specifically get their first vacation rental purchased and set up. And one of the first things that I do is talk through with them what their goal is and try to figure out what they want their life to look like as a result of doing this. And a big reason that people get into this is they want passive income. They want to replace their 9-to-5. And a lot of them will say, I want to replace my 9-to-5 and I've got a Roth IRA that I'm going to self-direct and I'm going to buy real estate with because I've got a whole bunch of money sitting there. And I go, well, I did the same thing in the beginning thinking this is going to make me a whole bunch of money, and it will, but don't plan on it replacing your income because you can't touch that money until you're 65. So
that's right.
Even if you invest all that money in your retirement account, using your retirement account, and it makes a whole bunch, it's not going to get you one inch closer to financial freedom today. So, and it just never occurred to them, so I think you're absolutely right. It's, understanding the tools that you have available and how they'll impact your specific goals.
Yep. Well, your money has to live somewhere. And to some degree, you can choose. That's the good news. You get to choose, but that is also a responsibility. You have the responsibility to decide where your money's going to live, and where your money lives makes it do different things, as we've said. So where do you want your money to live? And there are hundreds, thousands of places I counted at least 450 when I was going through my certified financial planner training.
Wow.
And then you can combine those together. So like, for example, a REIT is a combination of real estate and the stock market. So you could maybe combine equities and real estate together to make a real estate investment trust or whatever. There's dynastic trusts, there's annuities, there's there's equities, there's options, there's oh boy, the list goes on and on. Dynastic trusts, everything that you can imagine.
No wonder
and it's no wonder. Yeah, no wonder. No wonder. Who's got time for that?
Yeah.
So, I had to decide for myself, how am I going to build a financial plan that I could count on, that met all of my goals, met all of my characteristics that I had on my little legal pad at the time, and would help me, today with paying off my debt, but also trying to help me think 3 or 4 generations into the future. And of all things in the financial universe, for me, it was a really, really weird conclusion I came to. And when I first heard about this, I almost kind of balked and walked away from it because of my biases. But it was of all things, a whole life insurance policy that met all of those characteristics that you and I just talked about. Legacy, for sure, as you brought up. It's a life insurance policy, of course. My policies that I was able to find, this is a whole life insurance policy. It grows on a guaranteed basis. I can get access to the money in the policy, the cash value part. I can get access to that anytime I want for real estate or for sending my kid to college or Disney World or whatever I want to use it for. And I can see it growing, keeping up with or even beating inflation over time. The list goes on. We can use it like a bank. It's hidden from creditors if you got sued in most states. The list goes on and on. It was absolutely compelling to me that this had been sitting under my nose, and I'd never been taught this in my traditional kind of mainstream way to think about finance. But it's now become a central piece of my personal financial life. It's how I do my real estate investing. It's how I do a lot of my investing. It's how I do my personal projects around the house if I got a home repair to do or whatever. So that's been a key piece for me, little rock in my backpack, you might say, to help me stay focused and to get my goals accomplished.